Hello, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett. I forgot to bring her a nut or something to eat on. Probably. We also have peanuts because we went to our one of our favorite restaurants called Roadhouse. Now there's a Roadhouse that's close to us, but it's like sort of in a weird area, and they have all kinds of strange rules there. I don't know why. I guess there's some social issues around here. But so we go to a roadhouse in Cartersville, Georgia, which is about 40 miles away, 35 miles away, something like that. And it's really good. And they give you a bag of peanuts. Now, it used to be like when we first started going there, probably 20 years ago, they actually had peanuts in the middle of the table. And you could eat the peanuts and then you would throw the shells on the floor. It was just sort of this kind of thing. But now they don't do that anymore. That went away whenever COVID hit. I guess it was just considered sort of unclean. I'm gonna give Rhett a note card and see what she does with that. There you go, Rhett. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, I'm working on my Angular. We're working on Angular Voice Analyzer today, right now. I work on that every Saturday and Sunday. Looks like I'm 94 videos in, so it looks. I guess if it's every Saturday and Sunday, it's almost a year that I've been working on this. And then I had built a couple other applications before this that were like in pure JavaScript and all that because I wanted to build a cool Angular, like a voice tool. But I found that the API, which, is fairly straightforward, for some reason I was having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. So I started building this tool to sort of just kind of explore the API itself. And so, anyways, this is how it works, right? I'm going to say anyways. I've never said anyways. I don't know if it's going to see it as two words, one word, how it's going to go. So let's try that. Anyways. So yeah, that was one word. It only thinks it's one word. It totally recognized. But like you can have other words like sing, which I think it's either thing or sing. I think it's thing. If you say thing, it will think that you said sing, or that'll be one of the options. And when I mouse over this, it'll show me that. I also have these logs over here, which you can go through and see all the different logs, events that happened. And then there's a green one that gives you and and it's more of like a raw result of everything, and that was kind of, the first thing that I worked on. But let's try that thing. Right, so it has thing. It recognized that it had thing. I know there are times where I'll say thing and it thinks I said sing, but thing, it says 51% chance that I said thing. It says there's a 16% chance that I said Bing and a 33% chance that I said sing. I may have 20% chance that I said Bing and a 1.5% chance that I said finger. And I might have said B-Y-N-G instead of B-I-N-G, and that's the same as above. I guess let me click that, and then we also have this, which I believe is a last name in, I think, India. And, there's a lot of folks who originated from India in the United States, so I do run across this uh, last name around here quite often. So anyway, so that's how the discrete works. And continuous, I would like to get that working. I don't have it implemented yet. And then this is the properties. And this is the list of properties that I expect when I built this, at this point in time, that I expect to get printed out. And so what I would like in the future is to have like an icon that indicates if there's something here that is new that I have never seen before, and if there's something that I was had used to see that no longer appears, because that's very difficult to figure out. So the next list of things will be found properties, right? So these are expected properties, and now we're going to have our found properties. Found properties. Properties. And that is going to be, I guess, an array of strings as well. I would kind of like this to be more of a map where like grammars is equal to true, lang is equal to true, because I think it would be a little bit easier to do some of the processing, but I don't think it's necessary because I do think the code is going to be a little bit easier for like a human being to interact with this way. And I think that when it gets transpiled, there's a very good chance that the Angular team will have figured out great ways to make this fast and reliable and all that. Because basically, what I need to be produced at the end is a map that has a list of all the expected and found properties, and a list of and whether, what their state was. And there are three possible states. There's expected and found, expected and not found, not expected. So those are the three things that I want to see over here. And so that is that. So basically right now we have a list of properties. So these are actually the properties that are found, right? So get all properties. So this is, and I believe this is a map, and I don't know why, but so like if I if I list my properties, this thing, it's going to be a map. And I don't even know if I'm going to end up using this, but basically if I were to say console log properties, so something's screwed up, right? Because my get all properties, which, like the IDE kind of forced me to return a string array. I tried to return a map, but when I do this, what I will see is that it is actually in the console log. I'll see that I actually am getting a set, and I don't want a set. I want an array, and this says that it returns an array, but it's returning a set, and I don't think I can say set, which would be nice, so that the code would make a little bit more sense. But if I go into here, I don't think I can say set. Yeah, see, it won't let me do that. Oh, maybe if I do this. Oh, okay, so I could do that, and then. And so now I think I don't want to do this. I think what I actually want to do is return. So we can get rid of that, and we can return our props. Because it ended up being... Oh, okay. And so what I was doing here is I was actually telling the compiler. So let's go with props. Okay, so... Well... New set. Okay, so let's do this. And then we'll just force it to be. So I think that is still like kind of janky. What? Oh. It's still a bit janky, not quite what we would like, but I think it is a step in the right direction. At least we're getting the right kind back. So now, like, properties. Okay, so this set property map is not assignable to string. Okay, so I do think this is actually a string. Get all properties. Let's see what get all. Oh, I see. So this return. So I'm saying I'm returning a set, which is correct. Oh, but then I'm telling the property map that it's getting a string here, and it's actually getting a set. So today is Sunday, and it is April 27th. And it's absolutely beautiful outside. And okay, so that's good. So everybody is happy now. So we haven't actually changed any actual code at this point. But what's confusing right now is these are my actual. Okay, set property map. So these are my actual properties. And I don't think I actually am going to want this. I don't know why Rhett is being so over the top right now. Rhett, do you want to do the Three.js one? If you want to do the Three.js one, you better start behaving. Yeah, you better start behaving or you're going to get put in the cage for the Three.js one. So I think we're kind of going in a weird sort of circular thing because I have a feeling we're not going to be doing any properties when this is all done. I think it's all going to be, I think the next thing I do want is the actual found properties. And I do think that is, so we basically this dot found properties is equal to array dot from and then properties. And I guess that will give us an array of strings and found properties. So basically at this moment, good morning. I guess I want to have two tables, and this is just made basically for my own personal mental sort of just to get things kind of straight in my head. So right now what we have is an array. We don't want discrete results. We want our API results or API component. So right now what we have is a div. We have a table. And so what we can do is we can just put this table inside of a div.
Love you, Rat.
And then inside of this div, we can go like this. And then we'll just call it. So this is not how things are going to be. So I'm just going to inline my styles because we're going to end up. This is just for now, just for development purposes. But display is going to be flex. And I believe what that'll mean is that these two tables can be side by side. That they won't, if there's room, it'll show them side by side. So what I'm hoping to do is see basically two tables right next to each other. Yeah, that's exactly what I was hoping. But I want this to be found properties. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the TypeScript and we're going to create a found properties attribute. And this is a component attribute. And it is an array of strings. I do think that Rhett does like the Three.js videos better. I think she enjoys looking at Three.js stuff more than she enjoys looking at. Oops. And just for now, I'm just going to make it. And it's basically just going to be the expected properties. I just want to make sure that this is all wired up properly. And did I do expected or found? Okay. So found. Properties. Then, so we got our two tables side by side. They look good, looking good. And now let's see, I think I can just make this found properties. And for some reason, it cannot see the found properties. Go to definition. Did I misspell it? And then Alt left to go back, Alt left. What did I do wrong before? Well, who cares? All right, so we have our found properties. And so basically, oh, and they need to be sorted as well. So let's go ahead and sort that. I think it was in the constructor, right? Yep. Sort. We in sync. Now, just so let's go ahead and remove abort. All right, so we're just going to, it's just because it's right there. So the idea is that, like, let's say we were not expecting that one right there. And so you'll see how this, so in this case, what I would want to do is see the abort with the found but not expected. Or not expected, I'm sorry. This guy. And a little icon for that and all that. That's what I would expect to see in this case. So we'll see. Now let's say we expected one called Z. So now over here we have Z, but we don't have Z over here. Right, so that would be a situation. It is kind of wild how they're not completely out of, like, not together. So like it somehow like didn't quite make them line up. If they were all on one table, they would be all lined up, but that like would lead to a lot of coding complexity that for no good reason. But anyway, so in this case, I would expect to see Z with the red, expected and not found thing. And then for everything else, I would expect them to be expected and found. So that's the end goal. So we have moved a good step forward in this thing. The next step will be to create our so neither of these two structures will actually, I won't actually print either of those two out. What I want to do is create a third structure that is a array of API properties that is, and it'll basically have the property, the value, and the type. And basically, it will go through. Um, what's a good way to do that? I guess it should go through all of the expected. Okay, so how would that work? What's a good way to do that? So, because what we want is we want to end up with a list of everything, right? So to ensure that we had a list of everything, we would first, I guess, go through all the expected ones, and set them all to expected and not found, and then go through all of the property ones, and if there's already one there, then flip it to expected and found. If there isn't already one there, add a new thing called with the new property and make that expected and or not expected, and then finally sort it out. So, anyways, I think that will be a good thing to do for next time. I think this was a pretty good thing. Quick recap of because I kind of did gloss over this whole flex thing. So when this became flex, basically it made it to where all anything that's block level, and tables are block level elements. So a table is a block level element, and it'll make them show side to side. If it wasn't flex, then hit save. Now, to me, what's interesting is when CSS first came out, it was like not even worth. There was only like one sort of thing that was kind of worth learning. For the most part, you could just figure it out. There was no CSS was just so simple. It was just really, really not. There was no point to learning it. And then, but there was one thing, and it was called specificity, and that like you could literally, like if you spend an hour or two just sort of studying specificity, you'll have it. It's not that hard, but CSS specificity is probably the one thing that you kind of it was worth to just sit down and like just study and learn. But now I would say that CSS is the most challenging of the three pillars. So there's in front end dev, there's three foundational pillars, and one is the markup, and that's also HTML, which stands for hypertext markup language. Markup, and I think that one is probably the easiest and has not really, from a foundational change, like when it first came out, like so when it first came out, it was like all about tables and paragraphs and stuff like that. And then it sort of morphed into like just all divs and spans. Like all you ever did was divs and spans. And then it sort of morphed into like they tried to push in like this other kind of thing. I can't even remember what it's called. But it's where everything has like a name, and it's really easy. Oh, semantic markup. And that one just didn't take. I still hear people get all sort of wound up about it, but like the vast majority, I think, of people who do software development and on the web could not care less about semantic HTML. But there was a pretty big push in that direction. But markup is probably the easiest of the things. And then JavaScript is like probably the one that you need to spend the most time studying and learning, but it probably isn't the most. It's like if you come from any language at all, it's probably going to be the easiest for you to pick up, because it's just kind of going to fit in with other things that you've learned if you're a programmer by trade. And then CSS is just weird and has gotten weirder and is hard. It's probably the most difficult of all of them, especially once you start getting into flex and grid and all those things, it's just got all these subtleties to it that just make it a very, very complex language to understand and very easy to screw up. And you pretty much, like, as you scale up, it just gets way, way more complicated. But anyways, yeah, so we are making good progress. Hopefully next Saturday we can get the new and improved list that has both items in it with their basically a list of the API objects, and then we can just print that table out. And then if we get that done, then I can sort of port it into Angular material table, and that will be nice. And then that would probably be it. That'll be done. The API tab will be done, and it'll be time to move on to continuous. And I don't have the vaguest idea how long continuous, what all the steps are, and all the things, all the little subtleties that we're going to want to learn in continuous. It could literally be one of these things where it's like, it's pretty much a direct copy of discrete with one or two extra little subtleties, or it could be just a complete rewrite. And we spent a lot of time in discrete. Anyways, API is almost done, and happy coding, everybody. Bye.